Hello, this is Spellbinder's weekly report on the Unfiltered News by G. Edward Griffin and the Reality Zone crew. And this is what they have found this week in headlines for us for March 3rd through the 9th of 2012. And this is a comic strip. It's about Google. Must be an optical illusion. Everywhere I move, his eyes seem to follow me. Imagine that. Now to the headlines for this week. And the headlines start out this week with U.S. mainstream media has gleefully, reported that Ron Paul did not win any straw polls in the Super Tuesday primaries. I wonder why, when the people in the GOP of those states kept hiding his ballots and losing them in every state. What they did not tell you is that he still could win the GOP nomination through his strategy of collecting delegates. Here are the facts. AJC, March 8th. And you'll find out that, yes, though they try to ignore him, he's still pulling ahead because we, the people, want our Constitution back. We don't want their world order, UN control. Video. This is where it comes from. Shocking testimony from Defense Secretary Panetta and Joint Chief of Staff Chairman General Martin Dempsey reveal they think the U.S. military serves international interests, such as the UN and NATO, above those of the U.S. And you sure have seen this video. Congress was like, even the guy, Sessions, was sitting there going, I'm without breath. You're telling me that you have to go to the UN and NATO and then come back to us to decide if we go to war or something. It's like, what? We don't take no orders from any other country. We are the other country. That's what Congress is trying to tell the general. And the Secretary of Defense, Panetta, says the military seeks international permission for military action before determining if they want to consult Congress. That's exactly what he said, quote unquote. Infowars, March 8th. Man, it's just not right. U.S. federal judge rules that citizens do not have to prove a need to carry a gun beyond the desire to exercise their constitutional right to do so, as guaranteed in the Second Amendment. Well, that was a good judge. New American, March 7th. That's the way it should be. The Second Amendment states bear arms. Literally means to have arms on you, either in the open or, well, concealed. What back then was considered you're a criminal if you carried a concealed weapon. But if you carried one out in the open, hey, it was okay. We should go back to that if we must. I mean, in Texas, they don't allow a lot of people in pickup trucks to carry their shotguns now in racks on their back window. So you can see where they're trying to just remove everything. This is not America. This is not America. Da, da, da. Ba, la, 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 la. A little piece of you, a little piece of me dies. And that's what's happening. That song from David Bowie has a lot of meaning to it. Should listen to it. YouTube it. Look for it on there. Just put in there, "This is not America," and you'll come up with David Bowie. U.S. FBI turns off 3,000 GPS devices secretly attached to cars of people being tracked. It fears these devices could cause their cases to be overthrown if it were to be discovered that they were planted without court orders, or if they had been in place for a long time. ABC News, March 7th. U.S. 6 of Mitt Romney's relatives are actively campaigning for Ron Paul. Go Ron Paul 2012. See, Romney, your own relatives know about you. Infowars, March 6th. Video. U.S. companies that receive billions of taxpayer dollars from the Obama administration to create American jobs and green technologies have failed to meet expectations. They have spent most of their money, have produced nothing practical, and have paid executive bonuses. Here is a hard look at two of them. which are producing electric cars for super rich. One company assembles its cars in Finland, not even in the States. So much for American jobs. ABC News, March 6. Russia, Putin wins the presidency by more than 63% and dismisses claims of vote fraud. Hundreds of protesters are arrested. AJC, March 6. Virginia state legislature last week overwhelmingly passed a bill to reject the federal NDAA indefinite detention law. But the Senate changed the bill slightly, so now it must go back to the House for another vote. Opponents of the bill are hoping to delay passage until public pressure dies down, and they are making thinly veiled threats of loss of federal funding. In other words, blackmail. Downsize, March 6. Ron Paul in the video explains what he means when he said if elected president, he could get gasoline prices down to $0.10 per gallon. He really can, as you can see, and if you realize that gas is cheaper today than it was 20 years ago. Really. This is a good introduction to the reality of the price inflation. Daily Paul, March 5th. It's true. A dime, if you go buy a silver dime at the coin store, it'll cost you a coin, collection place where they collect coins and sell rare coins, coin shop. You'll have to pay $3 per dime, mercury dime. Now think about that. If we went back on the silver standard, gas would be a mercury dime. That's what he's trying to put across. He's saying things would be cheaper if we just went back on the silver thing and straightened up our inflation that we're under because of the Federal Reserve banksters. And next, anyways, Australia. New legislation allows children of any age without parental consent to be sterilized if a psychiatrist says they are mature enough to make such a decision. Also, 12-year-olds may elect psychosurgery and electroshock. You can volunteer for your torture in Australia. Since the psychiatric profession is rampant with corruption, fraud, and scientific ineptitude, putting psychiatrists in charge of such important decisions is insanity itself. Natural Society, March 5th. Madness, I tell you, madness. BP stock rises on word that it has agreed to an out-of-court settlement of $7.8 billion to individuals and businesses for damages from the Gulf oil spill. Why would investors view this as a good for BP? Because if the company had not settled and had to go to court, it is likely that the facts brought out in the trial would have led to far greater damages. Out-of-court settlements have saved the company untold billions of dollars. Reuters, March 5th, that's right. They gave up $7.8 billion for something that was $1 trillion damage. And now that's like pocket change, and they're getting off easy with a slap on the wrist. AGI is selling $6 billion in shares of an Asian insurance company to go toward repayment of $182 billion in bailout it received from the U.S. government taxpayers. The article says there is an institutional buyer, but it was not identified. Perhaps the reason is that further questions might uncover the fact that the U.S. government has guaranteed that the buyer will make a profit at taxpayer expense, of course, even if the stock never pays a dividend. That's not as far-fetched as it may seem. Previous sales by other bailout recipients have been based on similar scams. We'll be watching this closely. San Francisco Gate, March 5th. U.S. will pay over $5 trillion in interest on its debt over the next 10 years. More than 14% of all revenue the government collects will be used just for that. Note there is no serious effort to pay down the principal, just the interest. Therefore, the debt will continue to grow until the interest approaches 100% of the revenue. But long before that, the whole system will collapse. It will not be pretty. CNN Money, March 5th. Mozilla, Firefox, turns the tables on Big Brother by allowing internet users to watch who is spying on them. This is a blow against Google's policy of selling data showing what search words people use and what sites they visit. Daily Mail, March 3rd. Yes, you go there and they'll give you this whole little sphere coming out from wherever site you're on, showing everything related to that site. And there apparently are in connection to wherever you go afterwards. That's why you should get the program called Flash Cookie Cleaner. And it will take care of problems like that. Just use it every time you get ready to go to another site. U.S. TSA forces a nursing mother to pump breast milk before allowing the device through the security. It makes you wonder what else they thought the device could do. Daily Mail, March 3rd. Amazingly crazy. TSA. Amazing sculpture from junk auto parts. Huh, that looks pretty cool. Now to U.S. Recent Supreme Court decisions have given the federal government control over manufacturing throughout the country. The states, however, still have the power to hold companies liable for damages caused by their products. Although states cannot ban the manufacture or sale of products such as GMO seeds or pesticides with dioxin, they can make the executives of the companies liable for the damage their products do. In that event, companies would cease to distribute such products within those states. Natural Society, March 6. Oxford University shreds U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder's claim that the U.S. government is justified in assassinating U.S. citizens if the president says they are enemies of the state. Practical Ethics, March 6. This goes back to the C-SPAN interview with General Dempsey and Secretary Panetta. This is this is saying the president is above Congress. No, it's not that way. This is why we have the Constitution. The Constitution states for any action the president does, before he can get power to do that particular action, he's got to get approval from Congress. To go to war, he has to go to Congress, get Congress to agree to go to war, then Congress grants the president the power to do what he wills afterwards. Well, we haven't done this for 50 years. The president has been just sitting there going, I'm a dictator, basically, and telling everyone that I'm a dictator without actually saying I'm a dictator, just beating around the bush all the way around. This is what I'm talking about. Her government doesn't follow the Constitution. They've rearranged the order of how things work. And they've put the president at top, and the military is under the president instantly without approval from Congress for anything. So Congress has been bypassed. It's pretty scary. Video. Here is a review of the history of fraud committed by a man-made global warming alarmist with focus on how peer review has been subverted into mechanisms to squelch true science. If there are 3 journalists that publish scientific papers on climate, make sure the editorial staff of those journals are dominated by global warming advocates. Papers from dissenting authors will be rejected, and hence, no peer review. Very simple. YouTube video, March 5th. Global finance. The Skylock model. This analysis of Adrian Sabushi's explains why bankers and the IMF have loaned money to countries never expecting payment of the funds. The objective is to take a pound of flesh and obtain real resources in exchange for fiat currency, which they create out of nothing. In other words, something for nothing. Very simple. RT, or Russian television, March 1st. Yes, they go out and give these countries, knowing they're not going to be able to pay it back, and then they come back and they take properties from them. Look at Greece. They're giving up an islands to pay their debt that they really don't owe, because it was created by a few individuals, so the people really don't owe the debt. This analysis shows that the reason the EPA rubber stamp approval for dangerous chemicals is because chemical companies supply all the safety studies. Imagine that. They make up all the studies so they can sit there and tweak them to make them, hey, this stuff doesn't do anything but what we tell you it does, which gives them total control over what those studies contain. Natural Society, March 1st. Video, John Strassel shows how nearly everything in America is illegal, and they keep adding new laws to make things illegal every day. This really shows what collectivism has done to America. YouTube, February 26. Yes, there's over 100,000 laws that you're responsible to know according to the laws of the United States. You're responsible for every law. Now there's 100,000. There used to be only 70,000. Now there's over 100,000 laws. You're responsible to know every one of them, or there's no excuse for ignorance of the law, and they'll use that on you because you didn't know this law existed. That needs to be changed. We need to get rid of these 100,000 laws and go back to the basic laws of the Constitution. Anyways, another video. This short documentary shows how Goldman Sachs loaned Greece $3.75 billion and helped the government hide the debt from the public view. It was all quite legal, but as fraudulent as it gets. This is a textbook example of how bankers rig the system and politicians gobble up the money, regulators look the other way, and taxpayers are left to absorb the loss. YouTube, posted February 25th. Here's a great photo, and it is. It's like a walkway through a druid temple. That's where it looks like. Well, that's it for this week. That's the headline news. You can catch all this in the descriptions. I'll put a link to this, and you'll be able to see everything I'm talking about and read these articles. Until next time, this is Spellbinder saying be good at it, and have a wonderful weekend. Good day.